You already have what you need. It is sitting in your kitchen right now, something most people reach for every morning without a second thought. Apply it the right way to your tomato plants, and you're setting up a completely different growing season. Nothing from the garden center, nothing you need to order. Once you hear what it is, you will be in your kitchen mixing it before this video is done. There is a second ingredient involved as well, one that almost no gardener has ever thought to put near their plants. Combine the two and you have a system running above and below the soil at the same time. Two formulas, one full schedule. The science that explains why each one actually works. Let us get into it. The frustration is always the same. You put in the work, you spend money on fertilizer, read the label, follow the instructions, and at the end of the season you're looking at average results wondering what went wrong. Here's what actually went wrong. Your plant has two separate systems running at the same time, and almost every fertilizer on the market addresses only one of them. One system is the leaves, the other is the root zone. Both need feeding, both need protection. Run only one, and you're getting half the performance your plants are capable of. These two formulas close that gap. The first one works above ground, feeding and protecting the foliage directly. The second works below ground, not feeding the plant itself, but feeding the soil biology, so the soil can do the feeding for you. The cost of both together is nearly nothing. The difference in your plants will not be subtle. The first formula is called the milk shield. The recipe, 210 milliliters of milk into 1.6 liters of clean water. That is all. It sounds disarmingly simple, but this mixture has a documented history in agriculture that most gardeners never hear about, and the science behind it is worth understanding. When milk proteins land on a leaf surface and sunlight hits them, a chemical reaction occurs. The result is a compound with antifungal properties. This is not folk wisdom. Agricultural researchers have tested it directly against conventional fungicides on powdery mildew. In multiple studies, milk spray held its own. Comparable effectiveness in some trials, zero residue, zero toxicity. That is the protection side. The nutrition side is equally useful. Calcium, phosphorus, and amino acids, all present in milk, can be absorbed directly through the leaf surface when you spray them there. That is called foliar feeding. It bypasses the roots entirely. During high demand periods like flowering and fruit set, the plant gets what it needs faster than the root system can deliver it. For tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers, calcium demand is enormous during fruit development. Run short on calcium during this window and the damage shows up immediately. Blossom end rot on tomatoes. That black sunken patch at the bottom of the fruit, a whole crop ruined by a deficiency the plant was signaling for weeks. Misshapen cucumbers, peppers dropping blossoms before a single fruit ever forms. These are all calcium deficiency symptoms and they are common. Regular milk shield applications deliver calcium directly to the leaf. The plant absorbs it there. No waiting for root uptake. That response time difference matters enormously during the growing season. The ratio you're working with is specific for a reason. 210 milliliters of milk, 1.6 liters of water. Diluted enough that the leaves stay clean, concentrated enough that the nutrients actually land. Run this too concentrated and the protein residue on the leaf surface creates the kind of moist environment that encourages the fungal growth you're trying to prevent. The math in this formula avoids that. Mix the milk and water thoroughly. Get it into a clean sprayer. One thing that will catch you off guard the first time, milk and water separate as they sit. You will shake it once, set the sprayer down, pick it back up, and the mixture has already stratified. Shake again right before every spray pass. Do not skip that step. When you spray is as important as what you spray. Early morning or late afternoon. Those are your two windows. Midday is off the table entirely. Here's why midday kills the application. The liquid evaporates off the leaf surface before the plant can absorb it. You end up spraying air. The temperature contrast between cool liquid and a hot leaf can also cause surface stress. Both problems disappear when you spray at the right time. Morning spray gives the entire day for absorption as temperatures rise gradually. Evening spray sits through the cool of the night. Either way, the plant gets the full benefit. Cover both sides of every leaf. The underside is where stomata are concentrated, the pores through which the plant actually absorbs the spray. Most people only hit the top and wonder why results are slow. Get the undersides, cover every stem surface and every developing fruit. Do this every 11 to 14 days throughout the growing season. This is a maintenance protocol, not an emergency treatment. Consistency is what makes it work. The second formula is a soil drench. Nothing gets sprayed. You pour it directly into the soil at the base of the plant. The intention is fundamentally different from the milk shield. The milk shield feeds and protects the plant directly. The growth booster feeds the soil, specifically the biology living inside it, so the soil itself becomes a better growing environment. 3 ingredients: 3.8 liters of chlorine-free water, 2.5 tablespoons of baking soda, 1.5 tablespoons of dry yeast. The chlorine-free water is not optional. Tap water is chlorinated on purpose to kill microorganisms. That is the entire point of municipal water treatment. Your soil is full of microorganisms. They are not the problem, they are the reason healthy soil works the way it does. They break down organic matter, they release nutrients, they create the conditions plant roots actually need. Pour chlorinated water on that system week after week, and you're quietly dismantling it every time you water. The fix is simple. Fill a container. Leave it uncovered. Let it sit for 23 hours. Chlorine is a gas exposed to air. It leaves on its own. After 23 hours, your water is ready. That step costs you nothing except a bit of planning ahead. Now the yeast, and this is the part that makes the growth booster different from any other soil drench you have probably come across. Dry yeast, the same packet you buy for bread. What most people do not realize is that yeast is a living organism, technically a fungus, and when it gets into your soil, it gets to work immediately. The first effect is CO2 production. As yeast metabolizes in the soil, it releases carbon dioxide into the root zone. Research shows that elevated CO2 around roots pushes root development. More lateral branching, deeper extension, more total surface area. More root surface means more nutrient absorption. More absorption means more of everything shows up in the plant above. The second effect is B vitamins, B1, B2, and B6 produced during yeast metabolism. These are not direct plant food. They are biostimulants. They accelerate the plant's own biological processes, enzyme activity, cell division, nutrient processing rate. Think of it this way. The nutrients already in your soil only matter as much as the plant's ability to process them. These vitamins turn that processing capacity up. The third effect is competitive displacement. Yeast competes with pathogenic fungi in the soil, not by producing anything toxic, but by consuming the same resources. A soil environment with active yeast populations simply has less room for the disease organisms you do not want. 3 mechanisms from 1.5 tablespoons of dry yeast. That is the ingredient most gardeners have never thought to put in their ground. The baking soda plays a specific role. 2.5 tablespoons into 3.8 liters. Sodium bicarbonate is alkaline, and your soil needs a narrow pH window to function at its best. Tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers are all targeting a range of roughly 5.8 to 7.2. Outside that range, nutrients physically present in the soil become chemically unavailable to roots. You can pour in as much fertilizer as you want. If the pH is wrong, the plant cannot use it. Heavy watering and organic matter decomposition both push soil toward acidity over time. The baking soda is not a dramatic intervention. It is a gentle, consistent correction. Small amounts applied regularly keep the pH drifting in the right direction. There is a secondary benefit as well. Evidence points to baking soda in diluted soil application, suppressing certain soil-borne fungal pathogens. Fungi prefer acidic conditions, push the soil slightly more alkaline, and you make it less hospitable to them. But before you use the growth booster, it needs time. This is the step that separates a working formula from warm water with powder in it. Combine all 3 ingredients in a sealed container, shake well, then leave it alone for 2.5 hours. That wait is what activates the yeast. Dry yeast is dormant. It needs time to rehydrate, wake up, and begin metabolizing. At 2.5 hours, you're not pouring in dormant powder, you're delivering a live, active microbial population directly to your root zone. You will know the yeast is ready because the mixture will foam or show visible bubbling. That is CO2 being produced. That is exactly what you're looking for. No bubbling after 2.5 hours means your yeast may be old or the water was too cold or too hot. Start over with fresh yeast and room temperature water. Application is direct. Pour straight into the soil at the base of the plant. This is not general watering, you're targeting the root zone specifically. For mature plants, work in a ring around the stem, 5 to 9 inches out from the base. That range covers the primary root zone without concentrating moisture directly at the crown, which creates rot risk. Timing follows the same logic as the milk shield, early morning or evening only. Yeast organisms are sensitive to temperature extremes. A midday application on a hot day kills the yeast before it reaches the soil. You would be pouring dead material into the ground and getting none of the benefit. Apply once per week, every week. The yeast population in your soil is not permanent. It needs consistent replenishment to stay active throughout the season. Skip a week and you're not just pausing the system, you're stepping back from the biological progress the previous weeks established. Here's how the two formulas run together. Week 1, growth booster into the soil early morning or evening. Week 2, milk shield foliar spray across all foliage, plus growth booster into the soil again the same week. The pattern continues. Milk shield every 10 to 12 days, growth booster every 5 to 7 days. The booster runs more frequently, which means it runs during both the milk shield weeks and the weeks in between. What that creates in practice is constant activity on both fronts. Foliar protection and nutrition running on one schedule, soil biology management running on another, and neither formula interfering with the other. Above the soil line, the milk shield is handling calcium and amino acid delivery, protecting the foliage from fungal pressure, building structural integrity in every leaf. Below the soil line, the growth booster is maintaining the yeast population, supporting microbial diversity, buffering pH, and keeping the root zone primed to absorb everything available. Run these together for a full growing season, and the plant is receiving consistent support at every biological level it has. Here's the honest timeline of what to expect. The first 1 to 3 weeks, nothing dramatic will be visible. That does not mean nothing is happening. The yeast is establishing a foothold in the soil. The microbial populations are shifting. The plant's root system is beginning to respond to a different biological environment. The foliar spray is putting its first protective layer on the leaves. You're in the foundation phase. Do not judge the system at week 1, weeks 3 through 5. Leaf changes become visible. The calcium and amino acid delivery through the foliar spray shows up as leaves that are noticeably deeper green, slightly firmer to the touch. Those are not cosmetic improvements. They reflect stronger cell wall development, directly connected to disease resistance and physical durability. Weeks 5 through 7, growth rate shifts. At this point, the root system has been living in a yeast-activated soil environment for over a month. It has extended, branched, and built more surface area than it had at the start. That root development now shows up as visible changes above ground, more lateral branching on the plant, more flowering nodes, faster movement from flower to fruit. You're not watching one metric. Every system in the plant is running more efficiently at once. The fruit itself tends to be larger, more uniform, and fewer losses. Tomatoes almost universally show reduced blossom end rot when calcium delivery has been consistent through the season. Cucumbers with a well-developed active root zone tend to produce more fruit per plant and keep producing later into the season. Peppers, often the slowest to respond and most likely to drop flowers under stress, flower more consistently and follow through to fruit development at a higher rate. This is a compounding system. Week 5 is stronger than week 1 because week 3 built on week 1. By mid-season, you're not explaining results to people who ask, you're showing them. A few practical notes before you start. Any milk works for the milk shield, whole, skim, powdered. The proteins and calcium that drive the formula are present across all types. Milk near the end of its date that would otherwise get thrown out is ideal. Put it in a sprayer. For yeast, standard active dry yeast from the grocery store is exactly right. The same one used for bread. No specialty products, no particular brand. Dry yeast is dry yeast. For baking soda, the distinction matters here. Use plain sodium bicarbonate, not baking powder. Baking powder contains tartaric acid and other additives that will interfere with the formula's chemistry. Check the label, one ingredient only. On water, if you have a rain barrel, use it. Rainwater is naturally chlorine-free and often carries trace minerals from the atmosphere. Best case input for both formulas. If you're on well water, check whether it has been treated untreated. Well water does not need the 23-hour sitting step. Use it directly. Municipal tap water always does. Start the schedule within 5 to 10 days of transplanting your seedlings. The earlier you establish both formulas in your soil and on your foliage, the longer the compounding effect has to build through the season. Run it through the last harvest. Give it 9 weeks. 9 weeks of consistent applications following the schedule exactly as described. Do not change anything else. Same soil, same watering, same sun. Add the 2 formulas and run the schedule. Tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers do not need another product. What they need is a complete system that addresses the biology of a growing plant both above and below the soil line at the same time. That is what these 2 formulas do together. What are you growing right now? What is actually in your ground this season? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe if you want to catch everything that comes next.